Gentlemen of the Bigs, it is, what the hell is today? Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. The 2019 Big season has come to a close, and just some fun stuff here as we kick off the off season for you and begin to watch playoff baseball. We are going to go over the best and worst of the Week 24 season. We had some technical difficulties toward the end of that show, so wanted to wrap everything up here. With me, as always, the 2019 champion, Benjamin Aloysius Nisman. How are you, sir?
Oh, I love hearing that introduction, Joe. I could get used to that.
I bet.
Thanks.
All next year it'll be the defending Bigs champion.
Wow. Yeah, for a whole year it gets to be that way now.
Yes, it will.
Thanks, Joe. Good to be back. Looking forward to talking about what happened in our semifinal a little bit more, and finally some history, some interesting stuff that happened along the way. We turned the clock back just a bit.
Yeah. Today we're gonna like I said, we're gonna go over the best and worst from the semifinal matchups that didn't make it to the final video, and then we're gonna give you guys a ton of history here. We're gonna explain to you why the league is as prestigious as we feel it is. Some of the best teams that ever existed, some historic championship matchups, and a lot of fun stuff along the way. With that said, Benji, when it comes to Week 24 and us facing off against each other, as well as Jason taking on Mike Haber, who are the best pitchers of the week there, Benji?
Well, there were a couple that I noticed just because I was in a war with you, man. Just curled in my bubble, not really communicating with other people, not really socializing. It was a hell of a week. And your pitching was just unstoppable. It felt like it was just one haymaker out of the next to the other. There's many that I could point to. The Merrill Kelly one against the San Diego Padres was extremely, extremely frustrating. He kicked their butts in Arizona. 7 innings for the win. Check that. He might have been playing in Petco, rather.
Yeah, it was in Petco.
It wasn't Petco. It was a smart start, no doubt. 7 innings for the win, 3 walks, 9 punch-outs. He didn't give up a run. But even the .71 whip, outstanding. But honestly, Joe, now after looking at it further, this Homer Bailey start, I mean, I understood that he didn't get the win like Merrill Kelly, but who cares? You were going to win that category outright. Homer Bailey with his 7 innings, 1 walk, 11 punch-outs, no earned runs, a .57 whip. Yeah, that was intense. I remember looking at that game and just being like, no one's giving up a run in this game. This guy is just a beast, and it's going to be cool to potentially see him in a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're going to go with Sean Manaea tonight against the Rays, but I could definitely see him coming in relief if Manaea gets into trouble. I'm gonna give you credit with the Mike Foltynewicz start in the same matchup. 8 innings, a win, a walk, 7 strikeouts, a .50 whip. That start came against San Francisco at home. I mean, the guy had an absolutely amazing September. This was just one of 4 great starts from him along the way. Honorable mentions here. We got to talk about Jack Flaherty and Yu Darvish in the other matchup. Those guys went head to head. Yu Darvish for the week gave Jason 15 innings and like 25 strikeouts, which is amazing. But the start against St. Louis in his final start of the season at home was 8 1/3. He did take the loss and give up a homer, but 12 strikeouts, a 3.24 ERA, and an .084 WHIP. Just when you're this close to a championship, you want to get as many deep performances out of your pitchers as humanly possible. Darvish gives Jason 2 there. For Mike,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it was key to have him, and then the other one I would have said is for my team, Tanaka and Foltynewicz, the 2 together, pitching for a division. It was fortunate to have those exact pitchers pitching in that situation. And one thing that I'll say, and we talked yesterday a lot about a lot of things that I did right. There was other things that they kind of fell my way, and it was just I happened to have a guy that was pitching for a division on 2 occasions, during a week. That's just tough for you because that's a good situation more than not.
Right. To have something to pitch for this late in August, is certainly the extra motivation behind
September.
it. Yeah. In September. What the hell am I talking about? It is September. To have that extra motivation in a start to clinch the division, perhaps the best record in baseball, that type of thing. Those are the kind of things you look for when you're picking out pitchers to start for the day. I do want to give credit to Mike's pitcher of Jack Flaherty. We've talked about this guy a lot this second half because he's been the best pitcher basically in the major leagues for the last 2 months. He gives him another unbelievable performance this week. Looks like 8 innings. 8 innings in Chicago, 8 strikeouts, a solo homer, a walk, a 1.13 ERA, and an 0.50 WHIP, and a no decision. The game somehow ends up being 5-4, and I don't quite know how that worked out. I don't know if there were unearned runs or not, but to get 8 innings of only 1-run ball in this kind of matchup, when these two guys are slugging it out, it's a testament to these two managers. It's a testament to their roster construction. And for Mike to win the innings pitched category by 2/3 of an inning, Jack Flaherty is definitely a reason why when he goes that deep into a game. Who are your best hitters for this week, Benji?
Got to go with the AL Player of the Week that helped bring me to my first final since 2012. That's Trey Mancini, 12 for 26 on the week. 4 runs, 4 doubles, 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, a walk, 6 strikeouts, a .462 batting average, and a .484 on base. They all wore the crap out of Joe Schubert, who was going for the 3-peat. Great timing for Mancini. Great time for one of the more underrated picks of my draft to do what he had to do to get me to the final and ultimately a championship.
Yeah, the only thing I could counter with was Eloy Jimenez, who hit 400 with a 400 on base, 6 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 3 homers, 7 RBIs. Did have 9 strikeouts and an error though, so it was a hell of an offensive performance from your team, Benji. It was disheartening to see an offense that had been so strong for so long get run down by this scrappy group of guys, and Trey Mancini, who just went the fuck off. Over in the other side, I want to give credit to Yordan Alvarez. This is a guy we talked about being a league winner for Mike if he was able to finish the deal out, but unfortunately, Alvarez went to sleep after this performance. Did hit .474 with a 500 on base, 5 runs, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 2 RBIs, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. And he faced off against Kevin Biggio, who was, if I were honest, I would have thought he was going to be the third tier of these trio of superstar sons that are on the Blue Jays now. But he's proven me wrong. He's definitely right up there alongside Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero. This is going to be an interesting team going forward. This week he goes .407 with the same on-base percentage, 7 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, 2 steals, and 9 strikeouts. He did everything he could and certainly gave Jason a lot of the offensive categories, to try to get him to his first final. Worst pitcher of the week for you, Benji. Who was that?
It's a guy we haven't really mentioned a lot, honestly.
No?
No, it's not. But it is. Ronaldo Lopez came and pitched for me on Sunday. It was a stream. In Detroit he went and only went 4 innings did he go. He got the loss. It was an 11.25 ERA. It was a 2.50 WHIP. Most importantly, it was 3 dingers, just a walk, 3 strikeouts, and almost cost me a chance here to get into the final. I don't know how much worse he could have gone, but I guess I had separated ERA, WHIP, and some of these pitching categories enough that it at least got me, because I only won by 1 home run given up.
Mm-hmm.
2.66 to 2.57 in ERA. You took that ultimately 106 to 113 in WHIP. I mean, dude, I just needed to get to the minimum. That's what he did for me, but could have picked anyone at that point.
Right.
Nevertheless, he is one of my favorite baseball players of all time.
Yeah, I think it would be in order for you to go out and get yourself a Ronaldo Lopez jersey. I mean, I'm just saying. Because I'll tell you what, you know who my worst pitcher of the week was for my team?
Might be Berrios.
Berrios was bad, but I'm also going to go with Ronaldo Lopez on his start on Monday in Minnesota. 5 1/3, takes the loss, only 2 strikeouts, an 8.44 ERA, a 2.06 WHIP. I give it to him because I was trying to set the tone there, and he did not have a great start. You know, when you look back on the 2 starts that Berrios gave me that week, you know, one of them was really good. He went up against Ronaldo Lopez in this start. Yeah. But then the bad start was like Saturday against KC. But it's still not all that terrible when you really look at it. You know, it's a 7.50 ERA. No. You don't like that. But the 1.50 WHIP isn't as horrible as it could have been. Only gave up a homer and 5 strikeouts. But Ronaldo Lopez was pretty bad. On the other side,
but, you know, the thing is, also the thing is though, Joe, if you don't start Ronaldo Lopez on Monday, it's obviously a whole different matchup. You were going for that strategy of having the 2 guys against each other, and one has a good game. Maybe it's ideally a pitcher's duel, but you know, in this case, you got like the win and the loss out of it. I think, or did you get a no decision from Berrios?
No, I got the win from that one.
Okay, but then on Saturday, if for some reason you're like, forget this, you know, and you bench Berrios, you may win, you know.
Maybe. I mean, we would end up...
Or come a lot closer.
Yeah, we would have ended up tying home runs. That would have made it 13-8. I'm not gonna get walks. I'm not gonna get... WHIP may be a lot closer.
WHIP.
But that's about it. Like, at the end of the day, it may have ended up 11-9 at that point, or 11-8. But it probably... offensively, you just dominated me, and there was not really a way for me to come back there.
Right.
Over in the other semifinal, I want to give a bit of credit to Steven Matz, who had an absolutely terrible game for Jason. Neither one of these guys pitched well, right? Let's be honest. It was a 7.71 ERA to a 4.58 ERA. Steven Matz went out there in Colorado for Jason. Gave up 2 homers, gave up 2 walks, struck out 4 guys, got the loss over 4 innings, a 15.75 ERA and a 2 WHIP. You know, it was one of those starts that left me scratching my head because it's on a Monday, it's in Colorado, and it's Steven Matz who's 50-50 at best. You know, I didn't think it was a very good spot to be throwing him. On the other side of the coin, Mike threw Garrett Richards out there on Sunday to face off against the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he was even worse. He went an inning and 2/3, gave up a homer, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 21.60 ERA, and a 3.60 WHIP. Just an atrocious start, but the good thing about this is he didn't get the loss, so that's a plus, I suppose.
Yeah. Johnny Cueto also pretty disappointing.
Oh, yeah, Cueto was pretty bad as well. For Jason, you know, 5 walks over 4 innings. You know, it's a 1.75 WHIP and a 9 ERA. You know, you look up and down Jason's pitching lineup and you just see guy after guy of, ooh, that was bad. Ooh, that was bad too. Like Jose Quintana was bad. You know,
Scherzer wasn't great.
Scherzer was not great. Clay Buchholz was a disaster. You know, just up and down the lineup, and that's how you get to a 7.71 ERA in the semifinals, you know? Who was your worst hitter of the week there, Ben?
It was unfortunately of the same team for Jason. Guy he really depended on. Andrew Benintendi went 2 for 16 with 2 runs, a double, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 125 batting average, a 222 on base. Guy I think he drafted either in the second or the third maybe, so that's unfortunate there. Needed more from him this week. more of the story probably in this matchup was the pitching, though. I mean, you got to pitch better than a 7.71 ERA.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Yeah.
I understand there's a chance maybe it was a 5, but like it does make Mike Haber's decisions a lot more difficult if the pitching's a lot closer later in the week.
Absolutely. You know, the whip is nowhere close. The walks were pretty close. But like
pretty close.
But the fact that Jason didn't get a win all week, you know, and had 7 losses, like Mike can pretty much pick his spots at that point, and
yes,
you know, go after innings and go after relief appearances at his almost at will.
Right.
I'm gonna give Didi Gregorius a bit of shit here. You know, he hit 150 for the week with a 190 on base percentage. Struck out 5 times, committed an error. Did steal a base and hit a double with 2 runs and 2 RBIs. But I mean, you expect a whole lot more out of this guy, who's tried to carry you all year. I am going to get on the case of Juan Soto, who for 2 weeks in a row basically went to sleep after carrying me this far. You know, in a week where I really needed him to step up in a very crowded outfield toward the end of the season for Feast or Famine, it really is disheartening to see him hit 0.77 with a 235 on base percentage with 3 runs, a double, on 1 RBI, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. You know, I expect a whole lot more out of that. And
you know, I wanted to just jump in. Yeah. I don't want you to lose your train of thought, so hold on to it. Just a little thing on Didi. How often do you see a guy that just really slumps at the end of the season when it's his walk year? I mean, you could potentially think this guy is either a guy that's someone you don't want to have having regular at-bats in the postseason, or he's so overdue that it's crazy. But, I mean, to have your last month, he's a 14 for 75, 187 average, a 247 on base. You know, to me, like, I noticed that you're saying you're picking him to be the worst of this week. We know yesterday we talked about him being one of the worst in the final.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's only batting 133 and an on base of 161 over those last 2 weeks. Oof. A 4 for 30. 4 for 30.
That is really
This is really
bad.
ugly going into a very important playoff for them. A year that the Yankees are basically like World Series or bust kind of year, and this guy's going for a contract. So it's just, I found it interesting that this guy, he could be like the perfect guy to have, or just someone you need to stay away from because he's just an out.
Yeah, his season since the All-Star break, he's played 60 games, he's hit 223. You know, he's not striking out at the high rate he used to, but he's also just not hitting at all. You know, it just seems like he's just either flying out or grounding this thing into the dirt. You know, it's been a rough season for him on his walk year, which is disappointing after a really, really good 2018. All right. It is that time once again. Who, Benjamin, is...
Did I cut you off though, Joe? Were you finishing a point though?
I was, but I think I had wrapped it up with Juan Soto. Like, Juan Soto was just really, really shit that week, and
my God,
I think he's due. I honestly, like, much like we were talking about with Didi Gregorius, like, I think if he had a really bad last 2 weeks, right? He had like 3 hits in his last 10 games coming into the playoffs, and then we see what happened last night with him.
Right.
He might have a really great postseason because he's due. Like, this is not a guy who just is going to go into this prolonged slump. He'll turn this thing around. He's 20 years old. Like, this is his first real opportunity to showcase his talents in the playoffs because, again, last year was pretty disappointing for the Nationals in general. But I look forward to seeing what he's capable of here up against the Dodgers going forward. I
think he's one of the more dangerous guys you can think about in the entire postseason now that you saw what he could do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, who was your manager of the week for Week 24, the semifinals?
Well, as I pontificate on it, maybe you can just take a look while you have time while I'm speaking to see what kind of moves he made during this week, this particular semifinal week. And from what I remember, he saw the writing on the wall that there were so many pitching categories that were so far out of reach that he said, to hell with it. You know, I can go all pitching, basically. Just go all pitching and get the stuff that I need to protect, like the relief appearances. And he just did an incredible job. The best manager in the bigs, in my opinion. I realized I had a nice week against him. I was the better man for 1 week, but Mike, you're definitely still the best in my opinion, and it just shows with how consistent and how consistently great you are. So I had to give you manager of the week for this week. It was a no-brainer, especially because me and Joe, we basically, it was who played worse that week.
Oh yeah. It was definitely a case of you and I shitting the bed against each other, and whoever made the bigger mess would sit at home for the finals. You asked about Mike's moves. Basically every single move he made, with the exception, like after Wednesday, he did not make a move for a position player. You know, it was all pitchers by that point. It was, Keone Kela, it was Chase Anderson, Brett Suter, Brandon Woodruff, Trevor Richards, Garrett Richards, and Matt Andrews. Like, just a straight streamline of pitchers that he's rolling through so that he can get these innings, he can get the wins, and he can, try to keep his ERA and WHIP underneath the really, really high bars that Jason had set. I'm also giving it to Mike, and I would have given it to Jason if he had won it as well, because again, our matchup was just so filled with so many errors and boneheaded plays, like that. Whoever won this matchup was definitely going to win it for me.
Right. No, I mean, just all those moves you're mentioning, and it seemed like everyone paid off, and to win by 2/3 of an inning, when, that's basically the race that you're going, you did it right.
Right. Well, with that, Benji, that wraps up week 24, the semifinal matchups. I believe it is now time to school these kids on some history of the bigs, is it not?
Sure, we could do that.
All right.
So we can start, when we started calling it the bigs is 2005. I guess we decided that we could skip over that year because the two finalists are guys that aren't even in the league anymore. Does that seem logical?
Yeah, no, that's fair. And we're gonna probably skip over quite a few of these years to try to keep the interest toward guys who are still in the league. I'm sure we're gonna go off on tangents about individual players, but
sure.
I want to keep it to people who are still in the league in these championship matchups. And as we get closer toward now, we'll get into a couple of semifinals toward the more recent years.
All right, so this is the year 2006 where I won my first championship. Joe, you and I, we danced in this one in a final.
We did.
First time ever and only time you and I are in a final together. Maybe the only time we'll ever be in the finals together, but hopefully not. Hopefully we do that many times. But this was cool. It was both of our first finals. Your second year in the league. Both of our second, if we technically say that the big started in 05. And neither of us had a mature team name in this one. Yours was at least using a player's name in your team name. I didn't even do that. All right? So the championship team of mine, known as the Cock Blockers, defeated Joe 13-7. That team was named Mensch These Nuts.
Yes. I loved Kevin Mensch and his giant oversized head that year.
Right. Hey, it helped you get that far.
It did. Kevin Mensch was really good for me. If I remember correctly, he hit like 7 home runs in 7 days at some point. Like, that was why I named the team after him.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Again, the weird stuff you remember from these years, right? Like, I couldn't tell you.
Right.
I couldn't tell you who else was on that team without looking at the draft results. But I remember Kevin Mensch hitting 7 homers in 7 days. Like,
all right. Hey, what I remember about this year specifically is that Jay Ferraro dropped Justin Morneau pretty early in the season. and that was my pickup of the year. And I had Paul Konerko on my team, and it was just him, Konerko at first, and Justin Morneau in the utility, or vice versa. And the two of them, and I think Brad Penny and Brad Radke were big parts of this team. Yeah, it was a fun team that I enjoy. I think Melvin Moore might have been a part of it.
Yep.
We can delve into it a little bit deeper now here.
Yeah, your draft looks like this. You had the 6th overall pick, and you went with Manny Ramirez. Came back around with Rich Harden, and then a love-hate man crush with Andrew Jones. Like, you love the guy because he was such a good player, and he was an incredible defender, and was like a 10-time Gold Glover. But he's a fucking Brave, and like, you hate him too. Like, I understand the love-hate with Andrew Jones. 4th round, you went Paul Konerko, like you talked about, Billy Wagner, Melvin Mora, Edgar Renteria, and then a guy whose name I don't recognize. In the 8th round, 123rd overall, you go with a guy named Derek Turnbow. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a pitcher, right?
A relief pitcher, from what I understand, but he may have been a starter at that point. No, he was a reliever, absolutely a reliever. Got 24 saves that year for you. Go figure. Ramon Hernandez, right? Ramon Hernandez in the 9th, Kevin Millwood in the 10th, Cliff Floyd, Jason Kendall. So you went 2 catchers. Was this when we were still playing 2 catchers?
Well, I can potentially, I think if you look at the teams themselves, no, it doesn't show the positions. No. It just shows the roster.
Right.
Oh, that's a disappointment.
Mm-hmm. I think this was when we were still playing 2 catchers and just 3 outfield spots. Because that would make sense if we were playing that. Because Ramon Hernandez in the 9th and then Jason Kendall in the 12th. That seems a little silly.
I think this was the 2 catchers here. We burned that idea though pretty quickly.
Oh, that was bad. That was bad, man.
Yeah.
Luis Castillo in the 13th.
We might find out that's an 07 thing also. We might.
Yeah. Luis Castillo in the 13th. Brad Penny, you talked about, in the 14th. Derek Lowe in the 15th. Josh Towers, Jared Washburn, Reggie Sanders, Craig Monroe, Mike Cameron. One of my favorite names of all time in Major League Baseball, Tomo Oka in the 21st round. Rondell White, Matt Wise, Guillermo Mota, and Jorge Julio round out your draft.
Wow.
That was a whole lot of
Towers.
Yeah. Whole lot of really bad Mets in there with Guillermo Mota and Tomo.
A lot of great players in there. Great players are really on that team.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a strong draft.
But did I hear you say Mike Cameron in that group?
Yeah, Mike Cameron you took in the 20th round.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And he stayed on the team the entire time.
Wow.
What about Mike Lowell?
Mike Lowell, it doesn't look like you drafted.
Yeah, that was on the championship team, though, eventually.
Huh. Interesting.
Luis Castillo, was that a draft pick?
Luis Castillo was the 13th round.
Okay. Yeah. All right, yeah, and I heard you say Renteria.
Right.
He's still there. A lot of these guys stayed on the team, interestingly enough.
Mm.
Paul Bird ended up in this group at some point. Kevin Millwood, Dennis Reyes, Aaron Seeley, Randy Wolf. I don't think that was a draft pick either.
No.
I didn't hear you say that.
No, the thing about this team, though, that I'm seeing right now, like when you end the season, 41 homers out of Andrew Jones, 35 homers out of Paul Konerko, 34 homers out of Justin Morneau, 35 homers out of Manny Ramirez, 400 RBI guys, those same 4 guys right there. This, and if you add in Ramon Hernandez, who went 23 home runs, 91 RBIs, like, just holy shit, Ben, you put together a powerhouse here.
Yeah. Not intentional. I mean, I didn't realize there was going to be that much power, though. I thought Andrew Jones and Manny would carry the load there, but I wasn't expecting the kind of power year from Justin Morneau. And Konerko, I was always wondering, like, where the power was coming from, because he didn't really look like a particularly strong guy compared to some of the other guys in the league, but he always managed to have around 40 at some point. he got 35 on this particular year and 113 driven in.
Yeah.
So pretty important. A surprisingly good pick from me, because after I made it, I kind of remembered not being too happy with it.
And the one thing I want to point out is, we know Ben's strategy these days is to draft a ton of closers. His closing roster only has one guy with saves on it, and that's Billy Wagner, who had 40 that year. So, interesting that you go in that direction here and still win a championship, not utilizing that strategy.
Yeah. It was a good start, because here's the run: 7 wins in a row, and there were wins like 16-2, 14-3, 11-3. That was my first 3 out of 7. And 12-8, 14-5, 11-9, 12-6. So I start there with 7, 2 losses, a win, a loss, and then I go ahead to win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row.
Wow.
Before taking a loss and then winning in week 22. Finally, I had the bye and go on and win the championship. But just some of these wins right in the beginning where I just bludgeoned teams, was part of the reason, because I was just so separated from everybody else.
I do just want to draw your attention, Benjamin, to week 11 in this season, where you took on
that's fine.
Yeah, one of the 4 losses this year was to the guy who he faced in the final, and that was this guy. If we take a look at my team really quickly,
let's do it.
I drafted 15th overall this year, went with Roy Oswalt in the first round, followed it up with Bobby Abreu, Jorge Cantu. Whatever happened to that guy? Like, he had a really, really great season. What was it? He had a great season in 2008 and a decent season and a really good season in 2005. Other than that, like, it's just a mess. He never really panned out. I'd love to find out what happened to that guy, because he was one of these hype guys that, like, everybody was jumping on early that year and just didn't pan out. Ryan Howard in the 4th round, Felipe Lopez in the 5th round. I don't even know who that is. Coming off a season.
Yeah, I know who that is for sure. That was a shortstop, third baseman type for Cincinnati for a while.
Yeah.
Pretty good player.
He had come off 23 homers, 85 RBIs in 2005 and was an unmitigated disaster in 2006. Only had 11 homers and 52 RBIs that year. What a miss of a pick. 6th was Marcus Giles, Dan Herron in the 7th, Chad Cordero in the 8th, Matt Cain, Chris Young, the pitcher, not the outfielder, Francisco Liriano in the 11th, the namesake Kevin Mench in the 12th, Danny's Baez in the 13th, Rod Barajas. I remember this Rod Barajas pick because I panicked and the timer ran out. And Rod Barajas was in my queue, but I never planned on picking him this early. I wanted to have him like another 5 or 6 rounds later as like my second catcher. And instead, it auto-picked me Rod Barajas. The 15th round,
Funny what you remember.
Yeah, it's crazy what you remember. In the 15th round, I go with Juan Rincon, whose name is apparently difficult for me to say. In 16th round, I take former Met, and one of my favorite former Mets that were absolutely atrocious was Jay So. I don't know why I enjoyed this guy so much, because he was not good. He was not good at all. Johnny Estrada in the 17th, Juan Encarnacion in the 18th, Jeremy Burnitz, Mike Jacobs, Jonathan Papelbon in the 21st round. That was a good pick. Brandon Backey in the 22nd, Joey Devine, Octavio Dotel, and Randy Wolf. I went reliever heavy in this draft.
You end up with Randy Wolf in the 25th?
Yeah, 25th round, Randy Wolf.
And that guy ends up on my team beating you.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Go figure. Go figure. Yeah. 2005 was a fun year 2006 was a fun year for us, man. I remember distinctly, I moved out of New Jersey at the end of 2006. So right after this head-to-head matchup, I'm getting ready to move across the country. So, I'm sure I was trying to close it out with a championship. My season was a bit more up and down than yours. I split the first 4 weeks and then won 6 of the next 7. And then, hit the doldrums a little bit, but finished out the season winning my final 3 fairly convincingly. Defeating Strippers and Beer in the final week of the regular season 17-2.
Can we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. 2007? Did we have anybody there?
Yeah.
I mean, I finished.
It was a really close matchup.
Yeah.
The final went 10-8.
Oh yeah, this is the first of the Jay Ferraro championships, correct?
Yeah, this is the first of a back-to-back year, so we'll cover 08 after we cover this.
Sure.
So, looks like Jay finished up here with Josh Anderson. I don't know who that is. Ryan Braun, Eric Burns, Stephen Drew, Shelly Duncan, Vladdy, Derek Jeter, surprisingly, Matt Kemp, James Loney, Kaz Mitsui, Placido Polanco, Giovanni Soto, who he named his rookie. I think this was his rookie year, but he ended up being the MVP of Jay's championship.
Oh yeah, he was
Suzuki.
He was
Java Chamberlain.
Giovanni Soto was basically Wilson Contreras before Wilson Contreras was a thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But where the heck did Soto go? He kind of disappeared after a couple of years. Maybe pitching just found the way to adjust to him, and all of a sudden he was more of an out.
Yeah.
On the pitching side, Java Chamberlain, Roger Clemens, Manny Corpus, Giovanni Gallardo, Roberto Hernandez, Ian Kennedy, John Lackey, Carlos Marmol, Franklin Morales, Brett Myers, Andy Pettit, and Brian Wilson. That's the final roster for the championship.
Yeah, the draft looks a little bit more interesting, right? So he had the 8th overall pick. Does take Derek Jeter and Ichiro 1-2, which, I'm sorry, that's not fair. Like, that's, what?
What number pick was he?
8th?
Oh.
Yeah, he takes Derek Jeter in the 1st and Ichiro Suzuki in the 2nd. And back in 2007, like, this was prime Ichiro and pretty damn good Jeter. Like, to put those two guys together, Jeter ended that season with a .322 batting average, 12 homers, 73 RBIs, 102 runs scored, 206 hits. So you have Ichiro and Jeter both you're getting 400 hits from those guys in the first 2 rounds. Goes with Troy Gloss in the 3rd, Johnny Damon in the 4th, Brett Myers is the first pitcher, and he goes pitcher heavy here the next 4 rounds. It's Brett Myers, Andy Pettit, Irvin Santana, and Roger Clemens. Richie Sexton in the 9th, Jason Kendall, Lyle Overbay, Tadahito Iguchi. Eric Burns, one of my favorite follows on Twitter. Go follow Eric Burns. That guy is fucking hilarious. Ted Lilly in the 14th round. Soft tossing lefty. Was Ted Lilly good, or was he just like not as shitty as everyone else in the mid-2000s? Like, was he good? I don't know. I don't. He won 15 games 3 straight years. Okay, anyway, moving on. Fernando Rodney, Carl Pavano, Doug Davis, Scott Proctor. There's a really good team named out of Scott Proctor, and nobody ever got it. Luis Vizcaíno, J.D. Durbin, Matt Smith, Oliver Perez, Darryl Rasner, Cliff Floyd, and finishes it out with Termel Sledgehammer.
What? That's not a name.
Termel Sledge is a name.
Oh, okay.
Somebody should have named their team name the Termel Sledgehammers. Like,
yeah.
All right.
What I'm noticing here before we move on,
sure,
is that I'm looking at the stats. They'll still show which stats we used back in that time.
Okay.
It's same from 06 as it is to 07. I'll check 05 in a little bit, but while we're on 07, just the only little difference with the hitting side, and it's not even any of the offensive stats, have all stayed the same for this long, which I love. The defense, just the one thing, 06 and 07, fielding percentage.
Right.
So we'll see when we switch to errors. That's going to happen. We're going to find that out today.
Right.
But still on fielding percentage instead of errors. And on the pitching side, as we know, relief appearance wasn't up yet.
Right.
And complete games and shutouts. We know shutouts is gone, and we know looks more than a 99% chance complete games are gone next year as well.
Gotcha. My team is kind of shit. I don't even want to go over it. It was pretty bad. I finished 15th. That's my worst finish ever in this league.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is 07? Yeah.
I finished 15th twice. It was this year and another one coming up. But we'll move on to 08, which was the second of the Jay Ferraro back-to-back championships. He wins this one even closer than he did in 07.
Yeah. 10-9 the final, and it came down to a brilliant, complete game by CC Sabathia for the Brewers, and a walk by Jack Cust to go ahead in that category as well. So those two things happen. Jay Ferraro goes back-to-back. Insane year. Fielding percentage still a thing in 2008. Everything else the same. The team finished as Bobby Abreu, Jack Cust, Ray Durham, Prince Fielder, Brett Gardner, Derek Jeter, Jason Kendall, Carlos Lee, El Caballo, Jed Lowry, very interesting.
Hey,
Dioner Navarro, Jorge Posada, Cody Ransom. Okay. Cody Ransom. Giovanni Soto again. Marcus Timms, Jim Tomei, Melvin Upton, and Jason Worth on the pitching side. Cha Sung Bak. I don't know who that is. Jonathan Broxton, Cole Hamels, J.A. Happ, Justin Masterson. Oh, nice name. Jonathan Papelbon, Andy Pettit, David Price, Fifi, and Jose Valverde.
His draft was pretty interesting. You know, he had the 10th overall pick, went with Prince Fielder in the first round, Carlos Lee, Bobby Abreu, Justin Verlander in the 4th, Miguel Tejada, Jeff Francis in the 6th round, former Colorado ace, Chin-Ming Wong in the 7th, James Loney, Jabba Chamberlain in the 9th. Was this the time where Jabba was going to get turned into a starter? I wonder. Carlos Marmol in the 10th.
There was Jabba rules.
Right.
Absolutely. There was all this stuff, but I think 08, I'm trying to remember. I'm wondering if it was whether it was 07 or 08 where the rules started to come and he needed to start starting games. I feel like 07 was the beginning, and then 08 they started doing like the starting thing.
Yeah, 08 he started 12 games. In 09 he started, the whole season. The Yankees ruined this kid. Like, they were so concerned with making him so good, like they just fucking ruined him. Poor guy. Anyway, Carlos Marmol, Giovanni Soto, Jonathan Broxton. So it's two closers right there in Marmol and Broxton. Yunel Escobar, Akinori Iwamura. Anything? No?
No.
Micah Owings. I remember Micah Owings was basically like the Michael Lorenzen of now, where he was a pitcher and he was a relief pitcher, but he would fucking mash.
Wait, was Iwamura on the Rays?
Might have been.
He's a hitter.
Yes.
Definitely a hitter.
Yes, in 2008 he was on the Rays.
Okay.
Yeah, pesky 274 on base guy, scored a lot of runs, stole a few bases here and there.
Okay.
Micah Owings, Jerry Owens, an outfielder. Like, is that Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens combined into one human? Hiroki Kuroda, Jair Jurgens, Willie Taveras, Luis Castillo, Mike Pelfrey, former Met, not great. Ryan Church, former Met, not great. Juan Cruz.
Oh, he was okay for the Mets. Church was actually okay.
Yeah, he was fine. Like, I mean, he wasn't atrocious, but he wasn't a great. Like, that's what I mean by not great.
No.
Yeah. Finishes this out with Dan Ortmeyer and Manny Parra. I don't even know who Dan Ortmeyer is.
I really want you to, because this is going to be really fun for you when we break down, like, things that have happened this year. We know a particular man that really enjoyed trading this year. I want you to go ahead and look at some transaction and go to the trades of the championship team in 2008. Because it's an absurd amount of trades that occurred to give this guy his back-to-back championship.
Okay, here we go.
Look at this, Joe.
Damn. All right. So before the season even starts on March 31st, he makes, what is this, a 9-man deal with, who's Papa Pooks?
His name was Carlo. He was a nice guy.
Okay. The trade gets, which way does it go? Okay. So he gets Johnny Damon, Paul LaDuca, Ray Durham, and J.J. Putz for Willie Taveras, Ryan Church, Luis Castillo, Carlos Silva, and Paul Bird. That's before the season even starts. Mid-May, he gets Jay Bruce and Cole Hamels for Joe Creedy, Johnny Damon, John Danks, J.J. Putz, and Nick Blackburn. The end of May, he gets Andy Pettitte and Chris Perez for Joey Votto, Jair Jurgens, and Hiroki Kuroda. Payne Dick Torino. Oh my God. Oh, that team name hurts my soul. You get it? Ben? Do you get the team name?
Yeah, I get it.
Oh, that one hurts me on the insides. Anyway, later on he gets Brett Myers for Micah Owings. He ends up trading for Jose Valverde, sending away Jabba, Jonathan Broxton, and Yunel Escobar. That's an incredibly lopsided trade when you look at it. That's a 3-for-1.
He traded with the guy he eventually faced in the final, which is interesting.
Yeah. Gets CeCe Sabathia and Jonathan Papelbon. How did he get Jabba Chamberlain back to trade him the next day?
That's who he's trading with.
The Walking Wounded. Who is that?
Come on.
The Walking Wounded. I have no idea, dude.
Look at the name. Does it not show D?
Yeah,
D for...
That's not Darren.
Come on.
That's not Darren.
No. Maybe someone else that hung with Darren sometimes. With all of us.
Dave? That couldn't be.
No.
We wouldn't have Dave in the
All right,
league.
I'm just going to tell you. I can't believe it. Dan Pearl.
Oh, my God. Wow. And Dan Pearl is trading for Alexei Ramirez, David Murphy, and Jabba Chamberlain, and giving up Papelbon and Sabathia. Wow.
And that wins Jay his back-to-back championship with the complete game.
My God. My God. And there's still more.
Folks, we just uncovered something really big. I know it doesn't sound like much, but when Jay comes over to watch the game later, we're going to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He does end up trading away Miguel Tejada and Justin Verlander for Cueto, Tomey, and Jeter. But he drafted Jeter.
No.
He drafted Jeter the year before, I remember. Okay.
Yeah. He didn't draft him. He just ended up on the final roster.
All right. And then a couple of minor moves. Ends up getting John Garland for James Loney, and gets BJ Upton for Matt Garza. This is so 2008. I'm not even... Oh, my God. Dan Pearl gave him the fucking championship.
Yeah, amazing. Now I'm interested to see what his trades were in 2007, the first year. Did Dan Pearl give him, I don't know, Carlos Delgado or something for nobody?
Right? Hell, I'm going to pull it up right now.
Yeah, I got it too. Oh, not so bad. There's very minimal moves here. One is enormous, though.
All right, trades.
Oh my god. Wait, this trade he made with Chris McCarthy is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, is it the first one?
Yeah.
The one with Doc Mazak Express?
Yeah.
So he gets Placido Polanco, Vlad Guerrero, Chad Tracy, and Kei Igawa, giving up Richie Sexton, Tad Iguchi, a young man by the name of Jose Bautista, Fernando Rodney, and Irvin Santana. You get Vlad Guerrero for that? Wow.
Jake got Vlad Guerrero.
Right.
Deal.
Like, you get Vlad Guerrero for that pile?
Yeah.
He ends up getting John Lackey for Sean Marshall and Chad Billingsley from the same guy. Ends up getting Chad Billingsley back for Adam Eaton from the same guy. And not Adam Eaton, the outfielder in Washington. Adam Eaton, the former Rockies pitcher. Yeah.
Padres.
Jesus. All of his trades are with the same guy.
I know. It was a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that Doc Mazak Express team made the playoffs that year.
Wow.
Anyway.
All right. Moving on.
So, yeah, I figured we'll tell you guys the rest of the story. 2009, Jay went to the playoffs to try to go for the three-peat. He ended up losing in 2009 to Quinn Hushin, who ultimately lost to the champion in the semis. The champion that year was Matt Brain. Matt Brain ended up going to 2010 final as well. Almost got the back-to-back, but lost in the final ultimately in 2010 to Alexander Ang. We can touch up on any of these teams or any of these finals if you'd like.
I mean, with these guys not being in the league anymore, it kind of would be a bit
That's
dry.
fine. Yeah.
The one thing I do remember from this season, though, this is the other season I finished 15th. I had an absolutely awful season.
This is 09 or 2010?
This is 09. Yeah, 09. I didn't finish last. That is always the goal. Do not ever finish last in this league. But the one thing, there were two things that I wanted to do before the season was out: was not finish last and beat Dan Pearl, and I did both. There you go. I beat the Toms River Mets in Week 16, and from then on, my team's name was Pearl's My Bitch.
Okay. Do you still have that window up?
Yes, I do.
I want you to click on your final roster to see fielding percentage, or is that where we switch to errors?
Still got fielding percentage here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And everything else the same probably then?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so then in 2010, the winning guys, that's the championship team.
Uh-huh.
Still on fielding percentage,
Yep.
2010.
Yep. Come back from a 15th place finish to finish third, by the way, with the Aubrey Huff Divers.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this was the year I went to the playoffs or if it was the year before. I either went in 2010 or
You were in the playoffs. Bakers Rakers were there.
In 2010?
Yes, in 2010.
Okay, yeah. So this was my 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the playoffs, not anything else.
There are some ridiculous team names in this league, Ben.
Oh my God! No, they're so excellent that now I'm wishing that we brought up, but yeah, there are some amazing ones we might have to get through.
I don't know who this. I have to see who this is before I. Okay, I don't know who Edgar Friendly is, but he has one of the best team names in the history of the league, and I hadn't ever seen it up until this moment. The team's name is Fuck I'm Lincecum Cumming.
Oh, I remember that one. That's Quinn.
Oh, is that who that is? Quinn was really good at naming his teams. I'm not gonna lie. Quinn,
it was either quick or there's a chance. No, if he says Edgar or something, yeah, no, that's not Josh. It's got to be Quinn.
Okay, that was.
We have High Morales though. That was one that I found pretty hilarious. Probably not as good as the one you just said, though.
Yeah, Fuck I'm Lincecum Cumming is probably the best one I've ever seen.
Ever? Wow.
I mean, there's been some good ones, but that one, just because I had never seen it up until this moment, like, it was that good. I was like, wow, that was a good one.
All right. So let's go to 2011.
All right.
So we know that the champion was the Blake Street 69ers.
Legendary
the
team.
only champion to never draft.
Mm-hmm.
It was drafted by the computer. Yeah, mm-hmm. It was an auto-pick team that beat me in the final. He did make some differences, so I'll tell you the final roster here. And we still have fielding percentage in 2011.
All right.
Bobby Abreu, Asdrubal Cabrera, Prince Fielder, Adrian Gonzalez. Those two were the first two he drafted. We know that.
Right.
Curtis Granderson, Matsira Tsuris, vaguely remember. Adam Lind, Jonathan Lucroy, Aramis Ramirez, Alfonso Soriano, Chase Utley, Matt Wieters. On the pitching side, Scott Baker, Anthony Bass, Wade Davis, Gavin Floyd, Philip Umber, former Mets prospect, Ian Kennedy. Oh, and Philip Umber also pitched a no-hitter against me this year, this particular year, 2011.
Was that his perfect game? Right? Because he threw a perfect game, right?
Yeah, his perfect game against me. Yeah. Ian Kennedy, Craig Kimbrell, Brandon League, Ted Lilly, Mark Melanson, Carl Pavano, Joe Saunders, Jose Valverde, Ryan Vogelsong.
I remember that guy.
Yeah. Sure. No, he had good years on the Giants. He helped win them a championship.
Yeah. The thing I noticed about this Blake Street 69ers team, first of all, again, you hit it on the head when he didn't draft his own team. But he won the first 11 games in a row to start the season. He finished
11 weeks in a row?
11 weeks in a row to start the season. So his first 11 games he won outright. He finished the season 21 and a half games up in first place. And that was, we should probably be taking inventory of what seed each champion is winning from.
Oh yeah, true.
Because
I'm already on the trades that he made.
Yeah, because this is a 1 seed, and the 1 seed winning the title is very rare this year notwithstanding. Like, it's interesting that so few number 1 overall seeds win the title in this league. Talk to me about his trades, dude.
Well, looks like it started with, I don't know if this was Jay. So Jay traded him Brian Roberts and Curtis Granderson off the bat. Yeah, I remember he drafted Curtis Granderson, then he just did not want him. He was like, he really wanted him off the team. And then Curtis in 2011, I think this is the year he had like 40. 2011 was the second year that he was on the team.
Yeah, the second year in the Bronx, 41 homers, 119 RBIs.
So Jay trades away right off the cuff Brian Roberts and Curtis Granderson, and he gets back Colby Rasmus and Danny Espinosa. So there, Tom all of a sudden had Curtis Granderson on his way to having an incredible season. That was an April 13th trade. Yeah. Then Jay makes another trade with him.
Does he have a shrine?
No.
Does he have a shrine to Derek Jeter, Jay? Or is he just like always want him on the fantasy team? Because this is another case of him trading for Derek Jeter again.
Yeah, he just always wanted him on the team. He wanted certain Yankees all the time. There were certain Yankees he had a bad feeling of, and so he would just stay away from it.
Gotcha.
So that was the beginning of it, and then just one more deal the rest of the way,
right?
And it was with Jay again.
Mm-hmm.
So Jay moved. I'm thinking here. Yeah, Jay got Derek Jeter and Posada, and he gave away Lucroy and Melanson.
Yep. Yeah, the 69ers were one of those legendary teams that he put together. And then I think he followed it up the following year in 2012 as the Blake Street 79ers. Am I right there? Yeah. So the Blake Street 79ers in 2012 finishes 8th overall. So he did not come back to try to get the championship. This year it was Kuroda with Lime. Is that Mike Haber?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Mike Haber gets the championship win there. This is the one we've talked about over and over and over again because it's a repeat. This is the repeat match where it ends up tied and somebody has who was it again? Was it Jeff Weaver?
No, it was not Jeff Weaver, and you know damn well it wasn't.
All right, we won't linger on this too much for you. Let's just go to 2013. I know it's painful, champ.
Well, no, it's a whole different thing after a couple of days ago.
Right.
It's settled now, man. It would still be bitter today if I lost again. But no, it's a whole different story now. I'm very happy that, in this case, Mike got himself a championship. He came in with a roster finally of Luis Cruz, whoever that is, Ryan Domit, which definitely sounds familiar, Aaron Hill, Matt Holliday, Starlin Marte, Brandon Moss, Chris Nelson, Cody Ross, Mark Teixeira, Shane Victorino. On the pitching side, Bronson Arroyo, Grant Balfour, Brett Cecil, Jeff Francis, Edgar Gonzalez. I don't even know who that is. Joel Hanrahan, Matt Harrison, Tim Hudson, David Huff, Kyle Loesch, Luis Mendoza, David Robertson, nice, and James Shields, Andrew Werner, and Travis Wood. The pitching is hard to really understand because Mike and I were picking any player up with a pulse in that final.
Oh, yeah.
It just didn't matter. We didn't have a move limit. We were just going after each other for the inning. So the pitching side you really can't pay attention too much to. The transactions for him, if I can look at if there was any particular trades he did that put him maybe over the edge, put him on a roll somewhere. Yeah, there were definitely a few here. No, my mistake. He just had one with Ari. Will Middlebrooks went to Mike. Eric Hosmer went to Ari. And that looks like it.
Yeah.
If I can try to look at the run that he went on.
While you're looking at that, I have the draft here in front of me. Mike had the 4th overall pick, and I remember him going with Jose Bautista. And I remember having a conversation with you, like, this was Bautista coming off of that 54 home run season where he broke out and, won people leagues all over the world. And I remember him going 4th overall, and I'm like, I don't believe it. I don't believe in this guy. I don't think this is going to be, a world beater for the next many, many years. I was wrong. Although, first rounder, I mean, the following year, this year in 2011, he obviously did well for him. Hit 43 homers, 103 RBIs.
This is 2012.
Yeah.
2012.
This is 2012?
Yeah. We're supposed to be on 2012.
Oh, I was looking at 2011's draft. Never mind.
All right, so I'll say right now while you're pulling that up, I got his week to week. 1-1, tied 1, 1-1, tied 1, 1-1, lost 1, won 3 in a row, lost 1, 4 in a row, lost 1, 3 in a row, lost a tie, and then 2 wins to finish it off. Really just back and forth. Little win streaks here, but kind of a back and forth. It was just about what he did when he got to the playoffs. And as far as I remember, it was him and me as 1 and 2, and we took care of business in the semifinals, me against you. Let me see right here. He took care of the winning guys, who was, that was an 11-10 finish. All right, we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
And an 11-11 finish against me, beat me.
Yeah.
Yes, we know I lost by 1 inning pitched. Jared Weaver thrown out of the game in the first inning. That's the difference there.
Yeah. Yeah. 2012, he goes back to the finals to go back-to-back and try to match Jay Ferraro here and gets taken out by Sweet Cueto Mine. Greg?
Oh, we're talking about 2013 then?
No, this is 2012.
2013 is when he loses to Greg. 2012 is when. Double check it. I know I'm right.
Wow. Yeah,
you are. I have a trophy to prove it.
Yeah, I'm. Wow, my entire. Okay. Anyway, yeah, that's 2013. I'm being special. Goes back to the finals, faces off with Sweet Cueto O'Mine, and takes the L against who's this guy? Greg
Drobnis. So this is when the Drobnis brothers were very prominent in our league.
Yes.
Dan was there from the very beginning with us. I think, just not 05. He wasn't in 05, but he started with us in 06 and went all the way to 2013. This was both of their final years.
I gotcha.
Yeah, Dan was dangerous. Dan went to the playoffs every single year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this was this Mike Trout's first season in baseball?
No, that was 2012.
Okay. Well, 2013, Greg Drobnis has Mike Trout, and Elvis Andrus, Zach Cozart, Adrian Gonzalez, Eric Hosmer, Adam Jones, Jonathan Lucroy, Pablo Sandoval, Christian Yelich, Neil Walker, like a really, really good team of offensive guys there. Chris Archer, Joaquin Benoit, Clay Buchholz, Johnny Cueto, Luke Gregerson, Jason Grilli, Gianmar Gomez, Kelvin Herrera, Derek Holland, Sam LeCure, John Lester, Brandon Maurer, Franklin Morales, Hyun-Jin Ryu, and Yordano Ventura. That's his final roster right there. Only two guys.
Made one trade.
Really?
Yeah, he made one trade and was with Quinn, who I love this team name. He had Jesse Litch, and his team name was Jesse and the Rippers. For an homage to Jesse Konstopoulos on Full House.
Right.
The trade was Elvis Andrus for C.J. Wilson. Interesting.
And where did you? Oh, you were. She Wants You to Fister, huh? Because you had Doug Fister on the team.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I had Doug Fister. Still not an appropriate name at all, but at least it was clever.
It was. My team name was the Injection Sites because I had Ryan Braun and he got suspended for PED use.
Nice.
I remember trying.
Any other good team names in this year?
The Rusty Trumbo is pretty good. Yeah. The Rusty Trumbo is pretty good. I'm gonna give that one credit. No, I remember having Ryan Braun and thinking I got to get out from underneath him. I'm gonna trade him for anything I possibly can, and nobody wanted him. Because they knew he was going to go away. It was so bad. All right, 2014. There's a very
2014. There better be some good names in here.
There is.
Yeah, this was a strong year for team names, folks.
Yeah.
Lay 'em on me, Joe.
Well, I mean, the championship team is LaCroix Jenkins. I love that one.
There's a good amount of people that don't even know what that is.
Well, if they don't, Google. You know what? It's not even worth it because if you're not into like World of Warcraft, you won't really appreciate the meme anyway.
Right.
But Hit Me Baby One More Time was good. Molina Mo Problems was good. Sipping on Gin and Druce is good too. I like that one.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the strong. I'm sorry, that's up on there for me. Sipping on Gin Andrews.
Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
That is very good. That is very good. This championship was my first one. I defeated Ari 11-10. The thing about this one I remember distinctly. This was the last year we had no limit on roster moves, right?
No, there's still one more year after that there was no limit.
Okay, so if you go back and look at the waiver pickups from or the moves from, and it'll show you as recently as, it'll go in reverse order, right? So if you look at September 27th, Ari picks up a whole bunch of pitchers, right? Whether it was Chris Heston, Scott Baker, David Carpenter, he was grabbing as many guys as he possibly can to get into his lineup along with some offensive guys. But what I did, because I was staring down the fact that I'm ahead in innings, I'm ahead in wins, I'm ahead in ERA, like I wanted to shore up everything I possibly could, and the only way I could do that was pick up every single starting pitcher on the final day of the season. So if you look at it, I dropped Joe Kelly and pick up Clay Buchholz. I dropped Randall Delgado and pick up Nick Martinez. I picked up Jake Marisnick for whatever reason. I guess I needed an outfielder. Aaron Harang for Nick Tropiano. Ben's man crush Rafael Montero gets thrown away for Robbie Erlin. Masahiro Tanaka for Jacob Turner. Like every single starting pitcher that was available on the waiver wire, I went out and grabbed, and I think I even started them all.
Yeah. The key was just so that Ari wouldn't have them.
Exactly.
Like, that was more the strategy.
Exactly, and that was the purpose. I do find it interesting, though, that there are 3 teams making moves on the final 3 days of the season.
Yeah, some of them were like in consolation brackets.
Right.
This is also the final year. Next year will be the final year where the consolation people and anyone that's eliminated is still making moves and, playing into whatever is going on with the guys that are actually playing for the championship.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, this was a fun year.
Just some other team names that I loved from this year. One from James Santangelo, Ethos Pathos Latos.
Yes,
it's pretty damn good.
That was very good.
And who is this? Sweet Shinsu Music.
That appears to be our old friend Edgar. That appears to be our old friend Edgar Friendly again.
Yeah, just such excellent team names. He was one of the best.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right, 2015. That's when I go back to the championship to try to pull my own Jay Ferraro, and fall short against another great team name. Carry On My Hayward Son. Of course, Donato Santangelo. Right. Fantastic team name. That one I lost 13-8, and I also had a good team name there as well. The Cindergarden Cops. I liked that one.
Great name.
I did come into the season, and I could see because of the logo for this team, I came in because I had beaten Ari in the finals and you in the regular season, and I think I beat Uncle Barry in the semis of 2014. I came into the league known as the Kip Nisman Killers because I wanted to play off of Jason Kipnis.
It's really stupid.
It was funny. Team names here. I do like Hakuna Machado. That's always a good one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But I think to me, of all the people that have had names with Machado, I think I still have the best one, which I think is 20. I want to say 20. No, see, now I don't even remember. Maybe we'll get to it. Much Ado About Nothing.
Oh, that was good. That was very good.
I really think that was the best way to use Machado's name.
I certainly do appreciate whoever this is, the Bay of Puigs. That's a good one.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, that was Cousin Bobby.
Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, that was a really fun year. I remember having it wasn't as good a roster as the year before, but I really enjoyed this year.
Sure. The run you went on, my God. 6 in a row, followed by a loss, a tie, and then 9 in a row, and then a loss, a tie, a win, a tie, and then 2 in a row to finish it.
Yeah, I only lost 2 games all year. Only lost 2 games all year, and it was by a combined 3 categories. I lost 11-10 and 11-9.
God.
Yeah.
Just murdering teams. Like the championship team in Donato started with 2 losses. Started with a 9-12 and a 7-13.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. So he was down like 9 under to start the season. And then he wins 5 in a row. And then he loses, he wins, he loses 2, he wins, loses, wins, ties again, 2 wins, a loss, a win, loss, all over the place. Did he have to go through 3 rounds here, or did he get the second seed?
No, he was the 2 seed. I was the 1 seed. After winning my championship,
wow.
I basically ran away and hid with the first overall spot. I was 25.5 up going into the playoffs. And
right.
Yeah.
You torched me in the semis, and the crazy Mike Haber loss in the first round to Lorenzo Acuna Machado. That gave Donato a possible opening for the final.
Right. That'll move us on to 2016. This was your much ado about your Machado about nothing.
Oh wow!
This was that season.
And one of the best teams to win a championship here.
Oh, the Never Rendon story.
The Never Rendon story.
Yeah. This is Mike Sherman, correct?
Yeah.
Which ironically is the finals here is another rematch from the last week of this season where we get Ari and Sherman in the finals.
Right.
Right.
No, this was a whooping though. I guess
I
kind of remember this.
Well, most of the playoffs are whoopings.
Never really in this.
Yeah, most of the playoffs here are whoopings. Like Uncle Barry whooped me up in the first round and then gets whooped up by Sherman in the semis. Ari beats up on Eggs Odorizzi in the semis.
That's Mike Haber.
That's Mike Haber. Yeah.
What I remember is that there was just too much relief pitching and too many like singles hitters for Mike, because Mike's team was just a bunch of murderers row hitters here. If I look at Mike's team, Mike Haber came in with Elvis Andrus, Chris Bryant, Nelson Cruz, Brian Dozier, Jared Dyson, Aledmus Diaz, Edwin Encarnacion, Yan Gomes, Jung Ho Gong, Hernan Perez, JT Realmuto, and Justin Upton.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I saw Chris Bryant, and I almost said Kobe.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you look at that lineup, that's 5 guys with 30 homers or more. That's kind of nuts.
Oh my God! Yeah, you got a 39 from Bryant, a 43 from Nelson Cruz, a 42 from Dozier, a 42 from Edwin. I mean, jeez.
Yeah. Let's take a look at some trades here and see if the champion made any trades. He did not make a single trade. Mike Sherman did not make a single trade that year. Looking at
what about you? Did you?
We're just going to take a look in general. I'm sure I did. Oh, yeah. Right here. I made a trade with Jason. I received Ben Zobrist and Chris Archer, and he got David Dahl, Jose Abreu, and Neil Walker.
To Jason Ashby?
I believe that's Jason Ashby,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Honey Nut Ichiro's was the team name.
Yeah.
My team's name was Lamb Chops Play Along for Jake Lamb. Yeah, I only made 3 trades this year. I traded for I traded away Wade Davis for Hunter Pence, apparently, with Jason as well. And I made a trade with Jay Ferraro. This was the big Jake Arrieta trade. It was Ryan Braun, Kenta Maeda, and Todd Frazier for Jake Arrieta.
Who got Arrieta?
I did.
He was still good that year.
What was this, 2015? Is that what we're looking at?
No, 2016. No, 2016.
2016. Yeah, he went 18.
No, great year. His great year is 2015.
Right, and he's coming off of that, and that's why I wanted to go out and get him. He still went 18-8, with 190 strikeouts over 197 innings.
Oh, you made his trade with Jay Ferraro.
Yeah, because I remember.
Right, I remember this.
I remember Jay kind of bending me over, like going, "All right, here's what you're gonna give me, or I'm not doing this deal." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, fine," because Frazier was like my 4th rounder, and Braun was like. Let me see here. Where did I pick 9th? So Frazier was my 4th rounder. Braun was my 6th rounder, and Maeda was my 12th rounder. I think I had Stroman on this. Yeah, He wanted Stroman initially along in this deal, but I said, what about Maeda instead, because I don't feel comfortable giving up my ace and 2 of my top 6 players. And as it turned out, Maeda had a better year than Stroman did, because Stroman was kind of shit that year. In any event,
This is maybe the 1 year where the two teams in the finals didn't make a trade.
Yeah, they just ran their team. It made a ton of moves, I guess. Almost over 200 moves combined. Though there was one team. I think this was the last year without roster moves. Is that correct? Or was this the year that we had 21?
This is the first year. No, this is the first year we went with 21 moves a week for 2 straight years, I believe. 2016 and 2017, we had 21.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, there was the move limit. This is the first year that you make moves the day of.
Gotcha.
So, big transitional year for us. Also found out while we were going through this, the first year of relief appearances was 2012. It is also the first year we switched from fielding percentage to errors.
Huh. So 2 major shifts in 1 year. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and those were 2 good changes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So do you want to at least go through the championship draft there in 2016?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. Let me pull that up real quick. 2016's draft. The Never Rendon Story was drafting 3rd overall and goes with Bryce Harper, follows it up with Chris Sale, Jose Fernandez, Jason Hayward, Adam Wainwright, Anthony Rendon, Ian Kinsler, Randall Grichuk, Steven Matz, Matt Holliday, Gregory Polanco, Devin Mesoraco, Jose Barrios, Byron Buxton, Trevor Story, Alex Colome, Kelvin Herrera, Brad Miller, Derek Holland, Yasmani Tomas, Joe Ross, Byung-Ho Park, Brandon Finnegan, Zach Wheeler, and Danny Duffy. Oh, my bad. I hit the pause button. My fault. And one thing we noticed as soon as we realized that I had paused it, we never went over the championship team from 2015 of Donato Santangelo. So I think it's worth going back there for just a moment to hit that team and look at his draft and look at if he had made any trades or anything like that. Benji, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Do you have the draft ready?
I will in just a moment. It looks like he had the 9th overall pick, so we'll go there. He took.
This is the year that my team name had one of the strongest, one of the top 5. You said the last time we talked about it.
The Regina Monologues. It was a really good draft, and you ended up in the playoffs. Getting knocked out in the semis. Donato, 9th overall, goes with Robinson Cano, Madison Bumgarner, Starling Marte, Evan Longoria, Jason Hayward, Gio Gonzalez, Elvis Andrews, Brandon Belt, Salvador Perez, Jonathan Papelbon, Johnny Peralta, Jose Fernandez, Matt Cain, Ben Revere, Mike Leake, Derek Holland, Matt Garza, Mike Napoli, Aaron Harang, Mike Morse, Joel Peralta, Aaron Loop, Kendrys Morales, Mark Zepchinski, and Junichi Tazawa. The one thing I notice about this is that it's very starting pitcher heavy. This was the first year with relief appearances, am I correct?
No, 2012 was.
Oh, okay. But we were still playing relief appearances, and he did not go...
Making the moves the day prior.
Right.
So.
He did not go very, very, very relief pitcher heavy. He 4 of his last 5 picks were all relief pitchers to kind of fill out the bullpen there. But the starting rotation was really strong on this team.
Right. Now, to which name do you, as you played against this team to try to go back-to-back, is there a particular name specifically that you remember being the bane of your existence, ruining your opportunity to going back-to-back? Because there's one in particular I remember.
Not anybody that jumps out. I mean, you look at the final roster, and it's just a bunch of 20-homer guys. There's only one guy with 100 RBIs, but that doesn't necessarily mean much.
Right.
What are you remembering?
Well, you're not going to see it on the final roster because there was no point in keeping him after he made his start.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a guy that was in that draft that you just mentioned. It's Mike Leake, who threw a complete game shutout, I believe, against you. If not a shutout, a complete game.
Right. Now that you mention it, I do remember it. Yeah, Mike Leake's good for that. He did that a couple of times this year. Just throwing a gem when you least expect it, but it's incredibly clutch for you. All right, we'll jump back into 2016 here.
Well, unless there's one thing, I'm just curious if there was any trades done.
Oh yeah, take a look at that.
Yeah. It's definitely, let's see.
Well, I traded for John Lester and sent Carlos Correa and Jeff. Oh, that was the year Correa got called up late in the season. I already had, I think it was a really good shortstop on my team already. I think I was playing Freddie Galvis by season's end, but I remember picking up Carlos Correa, and he got called up the next day and hit like a homer or 2 homers in his first like 2 or 3 days, and I shipped him off. I was like, I need to get a pitcher. Let me package him and ship him off, and ended up picking up Francisco Lindor, who also went and had a great game. So I was really keen on the late September or the late season call ups that year.
So in 2014 is when I started getting very closer happy, and I think I got 7 closers in 2014, but I think I did get a lot in 2015 as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in the beginning of the season knowing that I could shed one, and Donato's like, yeah, I'll take one right now. So I traded Donato, Fernando Rodney, and I got back, this is another guy I had quite a bit, Johnny Peralta.
Yep.
And, so I think this year he was on the Cardinals, actually, that I got him in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
He actually had a decent year, but I think I remember my relief pitching starting to wear thin as the season went on. But that was the one trade Donato made. He went and got himself a closer, and then he went and got himself a championship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you made a couple of deals this year, Benji. You went out and got Anthony Rendon and Miguel Montero for Victor Martinez in July from, I guess that's James Santangelo? Ethos
but this trade did not work out for me. Both those guys hit the DL immediately.
Yeah. The only other deal worth mentioning here is a deal between you and I in late May. I end up getting Tyson Ross. You get Brandon Moss and Brad Boxberger.
That's really nothing to write home about if you use your terms.
Right. But it was for a closer, if I remember right. Boxberger was closing for Arizona. Was it Arizona? Maybe it was Tampa?
Sure.
I don't know. He was closing somewhere. You know what? That was the year where like Tampa had Boxberger and like one other guy that they were talking about using in the closer's role. And like you took the other guy and I took Boxberger like 2 rounds later, and he ended up closing like 30 games that year.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we go back to 2016 now. We know this is the famous Jake Arrieta deal. We talked about that.
Right.
2 teams that did not make a trade all season go to the final. Probably the first that's ever happened.
Right.
We went through Mike's draft.
Uh-huh.
Nothing else here. I mean, we could go through Ari's draft.
I think that'll be decent. I think that's a decent idea.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Ari drafts 10th overall. Takes Andrew McCutchen in the first round. Pairs him with Max Scherzer, David Price, Kenley Jansen, and Jason Kipnis as his first 5 picks. Zach Britton, David Robertson, Christian Yelich, Masahiro Tanaka, Roberto Ozuna. So his first 10 picks, 5 relievers and 3 starters.
Right.
Only 2 position players in the first 10 rounds. 3 position players in the first 10 rounds. David Peralta, Jeremy Jeffress, Drew Smyly, Kevin Pillar, Kettle Marte, Logan Forsythe, Jorge Soler, David Wright, Ben Paulson, Blake Swihart, Jesse Hahn, Gerard Dyson, Rusney Castillo, Hyunjin Ryu, and Travis Wood wrap up that draft. One thing I noticed, Ketel Marte and Jorge Soler on this team, 3 years before their breakout seasons?
Mm-hmm.
Good insight from Ari that early to see that kind of talent. I don't know how long he held on to him, but
was Jose Ramirez in that draft?
Was Jose Ramirez in that draft? No.
Ferrari.
No.
He ends up on the final roster. Jock Peterson. I don't think I heard that name.
Nope.
He's in on the final roster. Andrew McCutchen.
Andrew McCutchen was his number 1 overall pick. Or
his
10th.
That was his number 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was at number 10.
There's just some names. He obviously picked up some big-time players here along the way. Jose Ramirez this year, interesting. A 312 batting average you like, 363 on base you like. Out of 565 at-bats, 84 runs you like, the 46 doubles you like. 11 home runs, 76 RBIs, 22 steals. Wow. 44 walks, 62 strikeouts. Really impressive. 565 at-bats, and he only struck out 62 times. Wow. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in this day and age.
Absolutely. Especially, this is still 3 years ago before the ball was really juiced, and but to have that kind of walk to strikeout ratio is amazing.
Right. All right, let's go to the next year that's dear to your heart. In 2017, my team name was Let's Tie One On.
That was a good name.
Taijuan Walker.
That was a good
Thank
name.
you. I got to third place here. I had a pretty good year, and I actually had a really awesome draft. So I hope you can get into my draft, because this is one of the best drafts I ever had. And if I don't trade Giancarlo Stanton to Jay for Kenley Jansen, who then goes on and has a 59 home run season, and then I do 2 moves here. I go for like the double closer thing, because I had Cody Allen this year on the Indians, and I said, let me get Andrew Miller also. So I have both of those guys. I moved Justin Verlander for Andrew Miller. So off goes Stanton and Verlander on this team. Verlander ends up getting traded to the Astros. He's dominant. Stan we already talked about. And this was the difference to me, Joe, as far as getting a championship and not having it. Because, of course, you don't know who you're going to play. You don't know what you end up doing. We talked about yesterday, you have to win your championship. Very rarely does the team bail you out. Most of the time, you have to do things. But in this case, it's possible the team would have done it for me.
Yeah. I mean, this is, this was a really strong team, Benji. You came in as the number 1 overall seed. Oh, I'm sorry, you were the 2 seed.
I was the 2, and I was intentionally the 2, man. I split into the 2 and let James Santangelo take the 1, because I didn't want to have to face you or potentially Ari. So Ari ends up missing the playoffs this year, actually. He just misses it by about a game and a half. There was a hurricane going on in Florida. There wasn't that, the ability for him to pick up that one last pitcher that would have gotten him the innings to get him in the playoffs, unbelievably. Right. He wasn't able to get there. But that's what the point was. I was trying to avoid him, because if he gets the 6th seed, then I'm in trouble.
Right.
Because he takes the 3, he plays me. So I split in the 2 to avoid him, and I end up facing you.
Right. As I'm looking at this was a ridiculous playoff race, So it's you and James Santangelo atop the standings, and then
this is a crazy race.
Yeah, and it's 25 games back to third place, which was Donato. After that, it's 4.5 back to Finding Nemo. Help me out here, who that is?
That's Andy Solar Greco.
Andy Solar Greco, right? So we get so at 29.5 back, that's the 4 seed. The 5 seed is me at 30.5, 1 game behind that. The 6 is 31
Uncle
games
Barry.
back, a half game behind me. The first
Uncle
out,
Barry.
Yeah, it's Uncle Barry. The first person out is Ari at 31.5. Wheeling and dealing at 32.5, tied with Mike Sherman at 32.5. So you're talking, 9 teams? All within that much of making the playoffs.
And what I remember about this race is that you were either going to, like, there was a chance you weren't going to make it in, and there was a chance that all of you guys weren't going to make it in. Uncle Barry was actually sitting in the 3 spot, and Andy was sitting in the 6 spot, and it looked like Andy was basically out, and then Andy on Sunday flipped like 5 categories and basically switched the 2 of them so that Uncle Barry was in the 6, and then Andy was in the 4, and I think you were in the 5, Joe.
Yeah, the final week of the season, Uncle Barry loses to Andy 14-7. They both make the playoffs.
But it was an insane match. That week 22 is a memorable Andy having to make a comeback or he's out of the playoffs. That was insane.
Yeah. I end up losing to Gaddis some Trout in the final week.
That's wow, interesting. Okay, so that's Alex Lorenzo.
Mm-hmm. I end up losing 13-7. Alex
Lorenzo did some spoiling that year. Alex Lorenzo is the reason that Jay Ferraro didn't make the playoffs this year. Because Alex Lorenzo, if you look at his transactions, that team Gaddis and Trout, take a look at the transaction towards, I don't know, is there maybe like a 3-month absence of transactions?
Benny only made 4 moves all year.
And when's the last one?
Let's take a look. That's not helpful. I was looking at trades. He didn't make any trades. Gaddis and Trout.
I can do it.
Okay. Drops 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys between April 20th and April 22nd. His final move of the year. Was May 3rd. He picks up Alcides Escobar.
May 3rd.
Mm-hmm. That was it. Like, he made 4 additions to his roster, all before May 3rd, and was done with the team.
Yeah.
And yet still ends up spoiling, or damn near spoiling, my season in the last week of the year.
And 1,000% spoiled Jays.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, how the heck did he get... I mean, he got through that match just from flipping his lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jay had a disappointing end to the season, especially, getting Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge at the All-Star break. All
right, so talk about that trade. Talk about the Judge trade.
So I saw that I had been talking about shipping out Judge when I saw how great he was doing. I picked him up. I drafted him in the 20th round, to be my 4th outfielder, and in the first 2 weeks, he hit 6 homers. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is amazing. And then he just goes off for the first half. He hit 33 homers. Or no, it was 30 homers and 66 RBIs by the All-Star break. And I'm thinking, there's no way this guy hits 50 homers. There's no way. He's gonna fall off in the second half. His trade value is never going to be higher than when he wins the home run derby. And I'm thinking, he's a rookie. Winning the home run derby could fuck with his swing. We've seen that happen to guys in the past. So if I can turn around and get a really nice package for him, I will be absolutely ecstatic. And I knew I needed a starting pitcher and a reliever. And the trade ends up being it was here it is. I needed starting pitching, absolutely. I needed a replacement for Judge, and I wanted a big bat. I didn't care where the big bat was, but it fit when he sent me Manny Machado, Domingo Santana, Cole Hamels, and Danny Duffy for Aaron Judge and the Minnesota closer Brandon Kinsler, who ended up getting traded to Washington and losing his closer job. I remember when you and him had set up the trade for Giancarlo Stanton, and it was about to drop, and he says, I just lost a closer. He goes, I'm going to need a closer. And I said, well, I have Kinsler, but I'm not really interested in just moving him. I'm looking to move Judge. And he goes, give me a few minutes. Let me come up with a package. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to end up pitching this elsewhere. And he came back with this 4 package of players. And I really thought it would do me a lot of good to move off of Aaron Judge. Judge then turns around and has an absolutely bad second half. He still hit like 22 homers, but he only batted like 230, struck out every single day. Like he had a run of like 20 or 30 games where he struck out every single day. And then interestingly enough, Andy came to me and asked if I wanted to flip Mookie Betts to replace that right fielder, and I'd give him Jose Altuve, since I think I had like a kind of a logjam in the infield at that point, and getting Machado would make it a little bit harder. So he wanted to find a way to have me to help me out there and send me Mookie Betts. I mean,
wow,
I'll take that all day. And now I'm getting Mookie.
And I feel like for a month we were thinking that wasn't a good deal because Jose Altuve was raking. Mm-hmm. But by the end, it turned out that it was the right decision.
Absolutely. You. Because at the end of the day, between the two of us, Ben, we each made 2 trades. So it's 4 total, right? I make the big one for Judge. You make 2 small ones, sending away Stanton and Verlander.
Not small.
No, but one for ones. One for ones
as far as the amount of players
involved. Right, that's what I mean. Yeah, 1 for ones. And, it just it ends up being the difference in our matchup in the semifinals that year.
Yeah, no, it's a whole difference in the ending of the story. Mm-hmm. For the matchup for 2017 is a whole different story. If I just stand pat with the team that I drafted, with the team that took me to where I was all year. I didn't need Kenley Jansen. It was a really, really frustrating ending to my season, knowing how good those 2 guys were. The Giancarlo for Kenley may still be, or you could argue the Verlander for Miller, 2 of the worst trades at the deadline, and maybe 2 of the worst trades in Big's history. And they kind of now get swept under the rug just because I won the championship this year.
Yeah.
Kind of forget about the pain of 2012 of the tiebreaker, things like this in 2017, the barely squeezing out of the matchup against Ari with the Regina monologues in 2015, and then running into you, getting beaten by you in 2015 and 2017 every other year. It's like, here we go again with Joe. Finally, I get over the hump, but there were a lot of tough beats along the way. I'd say, getting to this point of the championship.
Absolutely. And for what it's worth, Jay Ferraro, who got those 2 big boppers at the All-Star break, he ends up finishing 12th and is, pretty far back. I mean, he was the last of that group of teams that was in the playoff race, right?
Right. Now, I mean, after week 22, though, we locked his team. Yeah. He wasn't going to check anymore, and that's why he ends up in 12th. But in reality, I feel like he ended up in 7th or 8th when the season closed.
Yeah, I mean, I came in as the 5 seed?
You were the 5.
I was the 5 seed at 30 and a half.
I think Ari was the 7, and then Mark and Jay Ferraro were 8 and 9. I don't know which one was in front of the other going into season then.
But yeah, so he was the 9 seed going into the playoffs, going into the consolation bracket. No, he was the 10. He was the 10 seed. The 9 seed was Uncle. Yeah, the 9 seed was Mike Sherman. So the final.
Then Mark Ferraro and
Ari was 7. Ari was 7. Mark Ferraro at 8.
Ari was 7. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Mark Ferraro ends up winning the consolation bracket, beating Ari in the finals of that. Yep.
All right. Well, your 2018 draft, I guess. We go to you taking down the Santangelo that beat you in 2015, a rematch in 2018. You face Santangelos in back-to-back finals.
Yeah.
You take out James. I think that was really just a manager that knew how to play the game versus James, where it was only his 4th year at the time, didn't really know how to manage his pitching. I think you kind of schooled him there. And then you played Donato, and now this is a really, really, really weird year because Donato made a total of 32 moves. That's not during the regular season, folks. That's all year.
It's all year.
32 total moves for a finalist. That's a record.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing this is my favorite team. If I'm looking back on my 3 championships and every year, this is absolutely my favorite team. I thought I drafted incredibly well with this team, made some controversial but incredibly savvy trades this year, and put together an absolute just dynamite team. And somehow it wasn't the number 1 overall seed. That went to Teoscar named Desire, Mike Haber.
Right.
That was...
Yeah, you were actually playing 3 rounds again this year.
I had to play 3 rounds to get to my second championship. Ari was the 2 seed.
Right.
This was a deep season. I just felt like I have this really, really good team. I don't know why I'm not absolutely just dominating this.
Yeah, no, Ari and Donato. Donato had this must be the year where Donato just wouldn't stop losing. He just ran by me easily also with his 32 moves. Yeah, okay. So he wins 2, he ties, then he wins, then he loses 5 in a row, and then he wins 5 in a row, and then he loses, ties, wins 2 in a row, loses 3 in a row, wins 1. All over the place, just streaks here and there.
Right. The thing I noticed though is that 5 losses in a row, they're all really close, and the 5 wins in a row to follow it are all blowouts.
Yeah, no, he made up for the losses with bigger wins.
Right.
And then, towards the end, there's a 14-3 win in there against Bobby Russo.
Then that's mitigated by the 14-3 loss to me 2 weeks later, and a 14-4 loss to Mike Haber.
Right.
For my team, I won 2 in a row, I lost 1, I won 2 in a row, I lost 1, I won 2 in a row, and then lost 2, won 2, lost 1. It was a very up and down season.
It keeps going like that.
Yeah, and
2 in a row.
And I just couldn't understand why this team wasn't as dominant as I thought it would. I thought it should be. I really liked this team. I drafted Clayton Kershaw 4th overall. In hindsight, and at the time, I remember going, okay, I've got the 4 pick. It's going to be one of Altuve, Arenado, and Trout if any of those guys fall to me. They didn't. So at 4, it was a toss-up between Kershaw and Scherzer. And I went with Kershaw. Scherzer ends up going the next pick. And from there...
This is one of the only times you ever picked a pitcher in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't like any of the position players as much as I liked a pitcher at 4.
Right.
And had I had Scherzer, it would have been a different story because Kershaw gets hurt and misses like half the year with his back injury.
Didn't really matter in the end, though, did it?
No. Second round, I come back around and get JD Martinez only because whoever Bulldozer is, who was Bulldozer?
That's Jason.
Oh, hi, Jason. He ends up taking George Springer 1 pick before me. This was the first, and this past year is the second time that I'm looking at George Springer and he gets picked the pick before me. So instead, all I do is take JD Martinez, who had like an MVP season. Turn around and get Christian Yelich in the 3rd, Edwin Encarnacion in the 4th, Buster Posey in the 5th, Edwin Diaz in the 6th. I remember, Benny, when I took Edwin Diaz, that you were really close to taking him right there. Is that right?
Yeah, because I was just eyeing closers at that point.
Yeah. I take Kyle Seager in the 7th, who was a disappointment. Zach Godley in the 8th, who was really bad, but he was part of a really important trade. Luke Weaver in the 9th. Nomar Mazara in the 10th, another part of that really important trade. Ozzie Albies in the 11th. Justin Turner in the 12th. Dellin Betances, Dinelson Lamet, Brandon Belt, Marcus Semien, Josh Hader, Gleyber Torres, Brad Boxberger, Dylan Bundy. Dylan Bundy had one of the 5 worst starts in the history of baseball that year. Gave up 10 earned runs and like 4 home runs without recording an out. And I rage cut him after that start. 2 starts later, he throws a complete game. Just angers me to no end. I will never, ever, 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 ever own Dylan Bundy again. Asdrubal Cabrera in the 21st, Sean Newcomb in the 22nd, Drew Steckenrider, Brandon Nimmo, and hey, look who's my 25th pick this year, Benji. It's a guy we haven't talked about very much. It's Ronaldo Lopez.
No, wow. It all comes back.
It all comes back.
25th pick.
25th round, 388 overall, Ronaldo Lopez.
Very interesting. Now let's talk about this ridiculous trade that went down that should never have been let through by me. I'm sorry, the Bigs. I'm sorry, members of the Bigs. I let you down with this one. This trade should have never gotten passed through. Let's go.
Okay. So, within the first month of the season, Mike Trout is having himself another unbelievable Mike Trout year. And the owner, the Philly Cali Ballers, Serge Benson, posts on the boards. In fact, you know what? I'm going to find the message board that he put up there.
All right, let's preface this by saying this is a guy that was a rookie manager that believed that quantity is the key, to have like as many players on your bench that play the same position so that you have to make 14 decisions every day was good.
Yeah.
So he thought that just moving Trout for a lot of great players, although that's great if you have those holes to fill. When you already have those players, it really doesn't fucking matter that much. So you just gave away the best player in baseball to the team that won a championship last year.
Mm-hmm. So here's the message. It's posted on March 28th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Send your offers. Mike Trout up for trade. Better be great ones. Only moving him for a killer offer. Nobody says anything, and like a month goes by. And April 24th, on pace for like 60 homers, no biggie, not worth what I asked for. Now, I had been talking to Serge, I would say every 3 or 4 days about Mike Trout for that month. And his first offer was Mike Trout and, I don't know, 2 of his bench players for JD Martinez, Justin Turner, and Clayton Kershaw. And I said, you know what? I can't do that. I think I'm out on that. He goes, well, what would it take to get Clayton Kershaw and JD Martinez? I'm like, Mike Trout, and like he had Lance McCullers and like a couple of other middle of the road pitchers. I'm like, you give me Mike Trout.
He was married to McCullers.
Oh my God,
married.
He
to that
loved
guy.
that guy. He absolutely loved that guy. So I said, you know what? It's going to take a lot for me to give up my first 2 round picks. I said, I'll cut you this deal. And I offered him Christian Yelich, Buster Posey, and a pitcher not named Clayton Kershaw for Mike Trout and something, throw it in on the back end. Christian Yelich went on.
That's a terrible deal.
Well,
on paper, I realize that Christian Yelich went on to have an MVP season, but on the surface, at that time, that's a terrible deal.
Absolutely. I'm lowballing.
Especially because you just said Mike Trout and something.
Yeah. It was going to be like a reliever or some shit. Like, it really wasn't going to be anything to add in that would have been,
Andrew Triggs.
Yeah. Or Chad Kuhl. Or
Zach Godley.
Zach Godley would probably have been the pitcher I would have thrown in on that deal. Anyway.
Yeah, great.
So, at some point, he shot me a deal where he wanted Gleyber Torres, Ozzie Albies, and Zach Godley, and he was sending me back a package of garbage, right? And I'm like, this I can work with, though. This I can figure out. So I send him back an offer 4 for 1 of Ozzie Albies, Gleyber Torres, Zach Godley, and Edwin Encarnacion first. And I'm like, okay, this is basically my best deal. Like, this is the best deal I can give you and still feel comfortable about it. You're still getting 40 homers out of Edwin. You're getting 2 middle infielders and Ozzie Albies was having a great April.
Yeah, and turns out Torres was going to start getting hot.
Exactly. So, like, if you want these guys, like, that's fine. Here's the deal. And he came back to me and took Edwin out of the deal and plugged in Nomar Mazara. So I'm downgrading from Edwin to Mazara. And then along with Trout, he gives me these 3 garbage pitchers of Caleb Smith, who ends up being really good, Chad Kuhl, and Andrew Triggs. And I said to him, I was like, I don't really need this package of pitchers. I said, could you just throw me one of these middle infield fucks that you have? Whether it's Jose Peraza or Yangervis Solarte or somebody in the middle infield. Because I had Asdrubal Cabrera on my team to plug in there, but I needed somebody else. I was like, I don't really feel like I need this shit. And he says, no, I can't give up on my depth, this, that, and the third. I was like, and then like a bolt of lightning in the back, it was like somebody slapped me upside the head and went, are you really going to lose getting Mike Trout because you don't want Andrew Triggs? And I went, you know what? It's a deal. I'm good. And I fucking hit accept. And then I called you. And I said, Ben, I don't know about this, but this is what I was offered.
No, what you said is, Ben, I just landed Mike Trout. It's dynasty time. Or something like that. Yeah. Something about your dynasty.
Of course.
So I was just like, give me a break. What the hell am I about to look at? And what I looked at was a trade that on paper looks reasonably fair because there were 4 hitters, and these 3 hitters and Godley. Godley was pitching well, and 2 of the 3 hitters were having really, really nice years. And no, it was just at the time I'm dealing with someone that doesn't understand that having more decisions isn't necessarily a good thing. You could argue that it's a bad thing to have too many good players on your team, because they're still also going to go 0 for 4. Just ask Juan Soto and you in the semifinals. Like, there's just there's guys that they can be great all year, but when you need them most, on a Sunday or on the Friday that you play them, that's when they shit the bed. So basically, for me, all he did was create more problems, and his team started to go downhill after that.
Yeah. When that trade came through, one of the first things I did was drop 2 of these pitchers. I didn't want them. I didn't need them. I wasn't planning on keeping them. I don't even think...
didn't care. It was just about get the trade through fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it was whatever he wants to give me along with Mike Trout, I'm fine with. The trade goes through on April the 30th. Literally my next move. It goes through at 12:04 on April the 30th. 12:16, 8 minutes later, I dropped Chad Kuhl for Ketel Marte. An hour later, I dropped Caleb Smith for Colin McHugh, and I'm off to the races. I held on to, I guess I held on to Andrew Triggs for a minute, because he was having an okay April. Like, it was a decent start, but he didn't last past May 2nd anyway. He might have had a decent matchup that I wanted to get, but yeah, it wasn't going to last. The other trades I made, and this, I think, look, the Mike Trout trade was huge. The Mike Trout trade was amazing. The Mike Trout trade was probably a bit lopsided. But the trade I made with Jason, like a week and a half later, on May the 9th, I traded Brad Boxberger and Jose Martinez for Blake Snell and Yoan Moncada. That arguably won me my league, because Blake Snell goes on to be the Cy Young.
Right.
I
feel like Kluber was a trade in this season also to just make that rotation one of the best ever.
Yes. I had this, like I said, this is my favorite team. This is absolutely my favorite team. The outfield that I put together of Trout, JD Martinez, and Christian Yelich, and the rotation of Kershaw, Kluber, Snell, Flaherty, those first 4 were ridiculous. And a bullpen of Edwin Diaz, Josh Hader, Sir Anthony Dominguez, who got me 16 saves, Hector Rondon, who got me 15 saves, and Michael Givens on the back end. I had 5 closers by the time this season was over. An outfield of MVP candidates, a rotation of Cy Young candidates. I couldn't lose. There was no way I was going to be denied this year.
No, especially when you're going to play a guy that was going to make very minimal moves, because the passion wasn't going to be at the same level. It just wasn't. Going into week 25, I knew it. I'm sure Donato knew it. He said, he was going to play, but it wasn't going to be the full effort. And you don't have anything to apologize for, Joe. You got to do what you got to do. Go and win yourself back-to-back. That's what you did.
Yep. Yeah. And there it is. That's the back-to-back. Like I said, Bottles of Haterade will always be my favorite team I've ever had, until something even better comes along. And you know what? Like I assembled a similar team this year. I thought my infield would have been the legendary thing, but nothing's gonna touch that outfield. Nothing's ever gonna touch Mike Trout, Christian Yelich in an MVP season, and JD Martinez on a 40-homer season. Benji, anything else on 2018?
No, I think we covered a lot here.
Yeah. And that brings us to today, guys. Like, we've just played this season. Ben, a legendary bullpen carries you to a championship, and a spark plug offense is what I will call it from here on out.
Yeah. Pesky.
Scrappy. Yeah. Pesky spark plug, pain in the ass offense with Victor Reyes.
Right. Which was a guy that I only obtained when I started facing Uncle Barry. I was like, what the heck, on the weekend. And that's when it began. So it was week 21. Stayed on the team for almost a month.
Yep.
A huge part of it, man. We talk about all those little pesky things. I mean, you could delve into this championship for a long time because there were so many little moves along the way. So many guys that I owned, so many guys that were on the team at one point, or maybe a couple of points. I mean, Adam Frazier was used a couple of times for me, not just the final.
He was all over the place, yeah.
Right, yeah. So many guys own so many different people. I mean, talked about the Luke Croy pickup, getting you the triple on Sunday. Probably never, ever has happened before that you pick up a triple from a catcher and it wins you the category. I mean,
the Miles Straw like ad where he got you 3 steals on a Sunday.
Oh, that's a great example. Yeah, Miles Straw on the Sunday when the Trey Turner thing happened, and it was going to happen on a Sunday, and there was a little controversy. Mike Haber was like, wait a minute, no one has a steal yet. Probably not a good deal. Not fair to put the deal, but eventually he was like, okay, like, you held it up for a couple extra days. I think it's reasonable. Put him in Sunday. It's not him. It's Straw that gets the job done there.
Right.
It's just like little different moves like this along the way. We talked about dropping Jock Peterson for Chris Taylor to flip 3 stats. I mean, there's just so many moments like that, and I'm sure, they happen for every championship team, that there's a week or two here where you make this clutch move, maybe surrender a guy to, who ends up having a great season for another team, but you need the stats right then and there, and ultimately it becomes the right decision. Jock Peterson, I said it yesterday, could be a guy that we talk for the rest of our lives, being a guy I drafted, great draft pick, let him go, ends up beating me in the finals of the MVP. So just things like that, you'll never forget. But now I'll just never forget the story of Ronaldo Lopez and his playoff like what he meant to you and me and Mike Haber for the 2019 playoffs, and some of these other classic hitters as well, the Miguel Rojas's, the Oscar Mercados and Tommy Pham flips.
And let's not underscore the pickup of Carlos Carrasco, a guy who battled leukemia this year and comes back and gives you, quality innings to win you a championship.
No, he got me that save against you and put some separation there, good whipping, good ERA to just give me some separation between you and I. So that was a good pickup. It's something that I had thought about for a couple of days, and I'm glad I jumped on it before someone else did in that semifinal.
I'm counting how many times Ronaldo Lopez was added and dropped this year before you finally grabbed him for the final time.
Final 2 times.
You added him, and you were the 19th person to pick him up. Obviously, it was the 19th time he was added to a roster.
okay.
Right?
Okay. So,
Yeah, he was on my team like 3 or 4 times. He was on Frank's team a couple of times. He was on Bobby's team a couple of times. Like, he had bounced around the league quite a bit, but it was the 19th ad. And I think it's interesting that it's 2019. Just a interesting little number.
Yeah, we put a bow on the fact that he was your 25th pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just it all comes back around.
Yep.
You know, that was the championship team that kind of passed it on to himself in the semifinal matchup. Hurt him and then hurt me, but it's just so crazy, man. We'll never forget it.
Absolutely. It was a great season. Benjamin, one last time, because this is the last video on the Bigs we're going to do. Congratulations.
Thanks, buddy. But you better not stop saying it's been real fun in the Bigs, because it's always real fun in the Bigs, no matter whether we're talking about this league or MLB.
Oh, no, that's the catchphrase. That's the catchphrase of the podcast now. And guys, tomorrow, Ben and I will be back. We'll be talking about both wildcard games, because yesterday was a hell of a game. And tonight, we get a pitchers matchup that I really, really like, because both of those guys were on my team this year. Sean Manaea and Charlie Morton. Benjamin, thank you once again for hosting with me.
Thanks for having me, as always. It's been fun. It's a little bit easier when we get to talk about things of the past. There's not as much pressure to talk about intense matchups and everything that happened. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just more of a what do we see versus like let's go and research stuff. Because sure, we could have done this show with a whole lot more research and just look over the 2012 season and who was a great player. But at the end of the day, like, we're just looking at it objectively, looking into the history books. Until tomorrow, guys, it's been real, it's been fun, and it is always real fun in the Bigs. We'll see you tomorrow.